What's up, y'all? We are here at New York Comic Con 2019, right? This is 2019.
Yeah, we're going.
It keeps going, every year it keeps going, and this is a momentous occasion for me right here because we are here live, day one, with Mr. Todd McFarlane, one of, legendary, living legends, sitting right in front of me right now.
Thanks. You guys are very kind. I appreciate you giving me the time, Ben.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
We're here with the four all nerds. We're here in what we call a spaceship or the escape pod. This is one of our many escape pods here at New York Comic Con. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate you giving me the time today.
Oh, no, man. Let me just start off. First of all,
Okay.
This is a momentous occasion for me because I can't remember how old I was, but I was reading Hulk at the time when you were doing that. And then I saw issue 298 of Amazing Spider-Man. And I wasn't a Spider-Man fan. I didn't care for him at all. Thought whatever. And you see that cover and it's like
It's goofy. It was goofy new. So, and look at it. They're gonna videotape. You put this mic low so they can see your pretty face. You keep hiding your pretty face, right? Come on, that's a good looking face. 298. I came on into the Spider-Man office, and I wanted to draw. Who didn't want to draw Spider-Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a young comic artist, but he had that black costume, and I didn't really want to draw that black costume. But they said that we could get rid of it. As I sort of bugged them, saying I don't want to do Spider-Man. They wanted me to draw Spider-Man. I go, I can't. I'm not drawing Spider-Man in a black costume. And they said, well, we'll just come up with a story leading up to issue 300.
Yep.
And that story ended up being the origin of Venom.
Yep.
Right. So, which was based on me not wanting to draw the black costume. Here's the thing that's bizarre. If I had wanted to draw the black costume, there would be no Venom.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's that simple. But 298, I just went in there and. I can encapsulate my run on Spider-Man very simple, and I've said it before, is that when I was collecting Spider-Man, I thought it was super cool. I thought they were doing like Spider-Man, emphasis on man.
Yep.
And when I went and drew him, I go, no, I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to do Spider-Man. I was less concerned about Peter Parker. I mean, he's okay, but he's not really super fun to draw.
Yep.
But once he puts that costume on, that's when you get to have fun as an artist, right? Mm-hmm. And I go, I'm going to go back. I'm going to look at some of the Steve Ditko stuff that was really sort of weird and quirky. John Romita Jr., who had done the perfect Spider-Man, still has done the perfect Spider-Man. And I didn't want to go down and copy Romita Sr.'s look because it was perfect. Okay. So I go, well, what if we just do something that's funky, right? And so I go, he's a spider, so let's start treating him like a spider. I think his poses should feel a little more insect. The costume should feel a little more insect, which is why the eyes got bigger. And I came back, his words it was, they had dropped the webbing underneath his, which was there at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then the thing that sort of caught people's attention was, I go, we got to do something about those webs so that just from an artistic point of view, I can shoot them towards camera, right? So you remember what they used to look like. Remember three lines with X's.
Yeah.
Which is okay if you shot them left and right or up and down.
Yep.
But as soon as you tried to shoot that towards camera, and a couple people tried, then what happened was you got these three big lines with big X's, and then they had to color them gray. Mm-hmm. So I go, how can it be gray? What are you talking about? Yep. It's a web, right? They shouldn't have even colored it. So I sat there and I'd seen some sort of influences on some different things, and just even the way the spider works. The spider actually goes up his web, right?
Yep.
Just look at a spider. So I always thought that Spider-Man going thwip, swing, thwip, swing, thwip, swing was more reminiscent of Tarzan. And so when I was a kid, I used to watch Tarzan. Remember, he used to swing from like jungle vine to jungle vine. And I go, he's a spider. And to me, I just thought like a spider, he should go and then go and crawl up it and then go and then shoot another one and then go onto a building and then flip over, like, I don't know, just goofy fun stuff, right? And as you, on top of that, just from an ego point of view, as a young creator, you're out in a sea of other creators and in a sea of books, and you're trying to figure out how do you get any attention. And I was going, how do I do something that's different, not the same, and see whether anybody will like it. And I got super lucky that the audience was ready for a change at that time as much as I was ready for a change. So 300 comes along, we create this character of Venom. That 300 is the origin story of Venom.
Yep.
To me, 300 is how do we get rid of that damn black costume so I can draw Spider-Man in his red and blue uniform. Book, that's what 300 is to me.
Yep.
And to me, if you look at the last page of issue 300, he pulls out the old costume.
Yep.
And he puts it on, and the last page is him, and he's back. And I think he even said something like, it's a new beginning. I kept that page, because in my mind, this was the first page I was drawing Spider-Man. Right?
Okay.
Because he looked like Spider-Man, right? And everything up to that point was like, this is a fraud, right? This is a fraud over here. So, yeah, and then we just went from there. Like I said, we just went crazy with them and had some fun.
So when you like you said, you were young, you had full of energy. You're just like, well, I mean, you're full of energy still, obviously.
Yeah.
And but when you dropped that, were you just like, okay, I'm changing the game right here? Did you know?
No. It's this simple. At least for me, it's this simple. When you're doing a comic book, especially a monthly comic book, you are in a room by yourself for 12 hours a day, if not more, to meet your deadline.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't have a TV at that point in my room. There was no such thing as the internet at that point. And so you're just in this room with your thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand, like, creating a novel or coming up with music in your head or doing a comic book or drawing. Like, these are very lonely occupations, right? It's not a social environment because you got to get focused on what you're doing. And so for me, every time I had a blank piece of paper, and every artist knows this one, every writer knows this one, is you go, what can I do to get through today? How can I make this not a chore? And the way to not make it a chore is to entertain yourself. So there's a bit of self-serving here. So I've got a piece of paper and it's blank, right? Here's a blank piece of paper, and I'm sitting there going, what would be cool? And then you just start doing, and obviously you can't do that every page because you got to tell a story. But every now and then, I've always said, if I could have 3 pages an issue that I could just have super fun, it would get me through the other 17 pages because it was a 20-page book. That would get me through the other 17. So that's it. So then you turn around and you go, I'm going to put them in that pose, and I'm going to have this, and I'm going to put the cape, and I'm going to put the chain, and you just come up with stuff. So when I was doing the Hulk, I go, what would be cool with the Hulk, the Gray Hulk? I go, I'm going to make him like all big and hunched over. I'm going to make his skin all crackly like an elephant or a rhinoceros. It's going to feel leathery. I didn't want to make it the same, which is smooth. So you could give me any character, and within 3 issues, I will have come up with something that makes it fun for me and hopefully isn't offensive to the readers. And for Spider-Man, it happened to work because I think he was in a bit of a status quo, and people were just ready for a bit of a change and went, oh my gosh. So when I updated Mary Jane to modern clothes, like she's still wearing 1969 clothes, it was like, oh my God, she was a supermodel at that point. So supermodels wear nice clothes. It was like it was a shock to the system. And I've always said, if they had been updating Spider-Man every 3 years, then what I did wouldn't have been that big of a deal. It's just that everybody was so reverent to what had been gone on before that by the time I go, hey, we got to update this, it's been 15 years, that it was a bit of a shock to the system, and luckily more people liked it than didn't.
I think that's what it was for me because I liked him as a character. He was cool, he did his thing, but it just seemed like I was seeing the same images from the 60s, from that I've seen it was always the same. And then you had the white cover, you had Chance, you had Spider-Man, and it was just like, what is this?
There's a tendency in our industry for repetition, because what ends up happening is that you see something that's working, and then you pay homage and you replicate it, and you don't want to go off because it's working. And so, Stan co-creates Spider-Man, with Jack and Ditko does all those issues, and then John Romita Sr. comes in, and by the time all that happens, the next writer comes in, and the next writer then pays homage to Stan's story. And then the next writer pays homage to Stan and whoever the second one was, which I think was Roy Thomas or Jerry Conway. And then and so on and so what's happening is like every 40 issues, somebody's just basically going back and back. And so I even have this the problem when I get some people sometimes who've written a few issues of Spawn, that I go, I don't want you to regurgitate. I want you to add something new. Because if you're just going to go back and do a poor man's Todd McFarlane Spawn 1 through 5, I can write that issue. As a matter of fact, I don't even want to write that issue because I'm bored of that. I've already written it. What I want you to do is write something that you go, I don't understand why Todd's never done this. I want you to have that attitude, right? And so everything should come from that perspective. Like, why haven't they done this with the Hulk? Why haven't they done this with Superman? Why haven't they done this with Robin? And that's why you get some of these great stories that have come out by, lots and lots of creators over the decades. I mean, when Frank Miller took over Daredevil, he was in a rut. And then he just goes, I'm going to try something new. And Daredevil wasn't selling very well. As a matter of fact, it was, I think, a bi-week or bi-monthly at that point. It wasn't even monthly.
Wow.
And he basically turns it on its head. And Daredevil becomes a relevant character. Cool, right? I think there's room for that for every character at every point. I could argue there's room for that right now in a big way for Spider-Man, right? Why? Like when I came on the book, they wanted me to basically continue doing what had already been done. And they fought me to do this new look. Then the new look proved successful, and now here we are 25 years later, and the McFarlane look is still sort of there. My attitude is, why don't you just let people do what they want, and somebody might come along and do something even 10 times cooler than whatever it is that I did, right? Just let them go instead of always emulating the past. And I know there's a young creative person that's got an idea for every character out there that we haven't seen on paper yet. The only thing is, you have to encourage them, and here's the weird combo, that creative person has to be gutsy enough to go and fight for it. Right? So just because you got talent doesn't mean you're going to be courageous, right? Because look at, in a sane world, in a normal person, when they said draw Spider-Man and we're going to keep him in the black costume, most people would have gone, oh my gosh, I'm doing Spider-Man. Oh my gosh, thank you. I've got a job, and they would have done it. And I was just arrogant enough at that point to go, no, I'm not drawing him in the black costume. Right? No. Right? And so I push back, but I go, so what's the mechanism for the next person to come along and take something and be in a position to push back and have the talent and do it in a way in which the readers also like it? There's 4 or 5 pieces that have to go into that recipe. So what I think should be happening a lot more often is actually the odds are against it, right? Which is frustrating for me as a creator, because I think it's staring us in the face, and we've got a system that basically is not allowing that to bubble up to the top. But if you don't have a creator with the personality that's going, no, I'm going to do it my way, right? Then you're not going to get there either. So this is why the Frank Millers, when they come along, are so awesome, because they just shake the cage, right?
And I knew that. I remember I've read about how they pushed back on you about making the eyes bigger, about everything you did, and so you just would go and make them bigger than you did the issue before that. And
again, the rule is when your boss tells you to do anything, you always say yes, even if you're not going to do it.
Yes.
Always in the room, always nod your yes. You're going to get that report in today? Guess what? Even if you're not, you're going to the Yankees game. You go yes, because it just makes it way easier, right? It just then the boss doesn't hassle you. You get to go to the Yankees game, and everything's cool. If you go, no, I'm not handing it in, I'm going to the Yankees game, he's going to come down. You're probably going to have to do the report, and you're not going to the Yankees game. So either you can go to the Yankees game and hand it in tomorrow and get in trouble, or you can get in trouble now and not go to the Yankees game and get the report. The report's getting done. The report's going either tonight or tomorrow. What's not going to happen is you're not either going to the Yankees game or not. So just yes, sir, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, and just always nod yes and then do what you got to do.
Did you do that back then?
Oh shoot, yes.
Even then?
Oh shoot, yes. I like I said, I've told this story dozens of times, but with clarity. And it's funny because Tom DeFalco doesn't remember, because it wasn't a big moment to him. It was a giant moment to me when he was so frustrated with me, and Tom DeFalco, right? DeFalco, he's an Italian dude, and he was telling me how to you can't do this, you can't do this. And then he goes, and those webbings, those spaghetti webbings, you got to stop it. And I remember with clarity, like, I mean, every time I think about it, I know exactly where I was sitting in that office. That I just sat there, and well, he was berating me a little bit, and I'm being hard on Tom.
Yeah.
He was doing it in a kind Tom DeFalco way. Because he was editor-in-chief, that as soon as he said it, all my brain was saying, at that moment, Tom was just going blah, 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 and I was going, spaghetti women, that's an awesome name. I'm going to start using that. Oh, Tom, you don't know what you just gave me. You just gave me gold, right?
He branded it for you.
Oh, my gosh. So,
Early.
and he's like, I don't remember saying that. And it's like, yes, you did, Tom, because I wouldn't have come up with it, right? To me, it was always frayed rope. Right, that like when you see like old rope, it starts to come apart.
Yes.
Right, and so that's what I wanted it to be. Or when I was a kid, I'm going to age myself. I used to do Play-Doh, and you used to be able to put these screens on. You used to go like this, and you used to be able to, and it used to come out almost like making
spaghetti.
Spaghetti. So, but I wasn't thinking of that word. But when I see spaghetti like in a pot, and I'm going, dude, you're right. Like when you take a strand of it, you go, shoot, thank you, Tom. Thanks. I'm glad I got in trouble today because otherwise I wouldn't have had this name. So was I ever going to change? No, because I knew the sales were going up. Here's the thing that's interesting. Here's the thing that's interesting about that whole venture, is that they handed the book to David Mcfarlane, the writer, and I, and said, hey, not only is he not in the top 10, he's not in the top 20.
Wow.
Do whatever you guys got to do to help create some momentum. And we drive this thing back into the top 5. By the time I get to Spider-Man #1, it goes to the top of the chart.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they want to get back on and go, well, this is how you have to do it. And it's like, whoa. We were the ones coming up with the crazy stuff that got it from 22 to 1.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden our ideas aren't good enough, or we've got to slow down. And this is the frustrating part that ended up sort of eventually, just being another straw on the camel's back that led me to go with, a handful of others and help create Image Comics.
So that's what I mean. So, okay, you've always struck me as that person who would just, if someone tells you no, you're going to find another way, and you're going to find your own way.
Well, there's two no's.
Yep.
Let's just be clear. Just so the people understand my mentality. There's two no's, right? Todd, don't walk through that raging fire. You will get burnt. That's a good no, right? The other no is the one that I think is way more harmful, which is protecting status quo. And I go around, I talk to kids, and I go, the greatest enemy, I believe it, and I'm in my 50s now, the greatest enemy that any of us will ever run into intentionally is people trying to protect status quo, which basically means don't change, don't find efficiencies, don't do anything different. Keep it the same, keep it the same, keep it the same, keep it the same. And if I look at the history of man and the existence of humans, there's only one thing that's constant: change. Because if it wasn't, we'd be living in caves still, right? And we'd be eating with our bare hands and beating people over the head with rock. We've changed. So why is it that when we go into jobs and somebody comes up and says, hey, I know we're drilling for oil, but if we use this tool and we do this, and I've got an idea, we could create an efficiency that would get us 10% more barrels and make you 10% more money. Those kinds of things are resistant because it's like, don't. Why are you trying to change what we're doing? Well, for the better or for efficiency reasons. So for Spider-Man and everything that I did at Marvel, I was under one rule. They hired me for one rule. Todd, sell books. That was it. Todd, we're in the book selling business, comic book selling business. We're going to hire you to do work. We hope you do it so that you sell books. Sell books. And so I don't understand, like when I took a book from number 20 with the help of a lot of other good people up to number 1, why that was a bad thing. And it ended up being this moment where they kept wagging fingers in my faces for doing what it was that they had hired me for. What got me in trouble wasn't that I was doing my job, which was sell books. I was selling books. As a matter of fact, at some point I was selling more books than anybody else they employed. I was making more money for them than anybody else they employed. What got me in trouble was they didn't like the method. Who gives a shit about the method if I'm doing the job, right? And so that's why I just had to go uncle.
Yeah.
Uncle, I gotta go. I got this character that I created when I was 16. I'm gonna go. We're gonna band together a bunch of people, and we're gonna create one. And 27 years later, we're here with the book, and we're gonna set a world record here with the release of issue 301. Right?
Yep.
The king is coming. Right? So that's it. I'm just like go. And people say, Todd, how did you do it for 27 years? And are you gonna keep doing it? Of course, I'm gonna keep doing it till I'm dead. I'm gonna keep doing it till I'm dead. And here's why. Because I deal with, between the toys and the movies and all the other stuff that I do in my day job, I deal with corporations and people and status quo all day long. And at the end of the day, sometimes I want to put a nail right through my head, right? And then I turn to this thing called Spawn. And I don't have to ask anybody's permission. And I just go and I go, my baby, whatever I come up with, I get to do. And it is such freedom. Right? I like, if anybody wants to get up to 300 issues, here's how you get there. Make sure you go out and deal with humanity a lot, because they will drive you crazy. So when you come back to your own creation, it will seem like the greatest thing ever. And you will never get tired of your baby, right? Like, what are you talking about? There's not been one day where I've ever thought of stopping Spawn, ever, in 27 years, and I'm going to go till I'm in the ground.
Well, hopefully that won't be for a long time.
Oh, I hope I got another 300.
Yeah,
I hope I got another 300. Because then the record would be 600. And then all of a sudden it's not 27 years, it's going to be 54 years. So some kid's going to have to sit there at 20 and go, gee, to break the record, I'll have to go till I'm 75? Who's that? Yeah. That's not even a sane thought, no. Right? And if anybody even says that, I'm going to put them and lock them away, because it's not even a sane thought, right? Even 27 years is not very sane. So to go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something, and 27 years later keep doing the exact same thing. It's not a rational thing. Mm-hmm. But when you're running a marathon, you don't really count the steps, that your strides. Next thing you know, you're at mile 21 and you go, wow, that was wow, I ran a long way. But you're not paying attention to what's behind you. You're paying attention, you still got 2 more miles to finish this marathon, right? So I got a marathon still to finish here.
Well, damn, the marathon continues.
It does continue.
And we could be here all day, but we're going to have to wrap this up. So,
all right.
Thank you so
Ben,
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Todd. This is a moment, you know. Thank you. Congratulations on 301.
Sure, thanks.
And, hopefully at least another 300 to go.
Oh, good fans like you. We'll keep going.
All right. Thank you, man.